Welcome back to the channel. My name is Finite. This channel is called IGC in Vision Game Community. And today we're looking at a horror game. Yes, from Capcom. Resident Evil Requiem. Played on the PC, originally written by Sahil, and of course converted for video format by myself. Let's get it on. What happens when Resident Evil returns to its horror roots, but keeps the explosive action fans love? That's exactly what Resident Evil Requiem tries to deliver. The 9th mainline entry in the Resident Evil introduces a brand new protagonist, while also bringing back one of the series' most iconic characters. But the big question is, does Resident Evil Requiem live up to the legacy of the franchise? Or does it stumble like a zombie that just took a shotgun blast to the head? Let us find out. The story follows Grace Ashcroft, an FBI investigator sent to look into a murder case. Unfortunately for her, the investigation takes her straight back to the Wrenwood Hotel, the same location where her, spoiler, mother died many years ago. The hotel has long since been condemned, and its dark history is deeply connected to Grace's past. But when she arrives to investigate the murder, things go wrong almost immediately. Grace is captured. And what follows is the beginning of a deeply personal horror story. The opening sequence doubles as a tutorial, introducing players to the game's mechanics while setting up the eerie tone that carries throughout the adventure. Right away, you can tell that Capcom is aiming to deliver a classic Resident Evil atmosphere. Though the game does have 3 options to choose from when you actually boot up the game. You got the original sort of take on Resident Evil. Then you got the story. You can choose how hard you want it to be. But of course, Leon returns. Yes, the fan favourite Leon S. Kennedy returns as a playable character. But this isn't the rookie cop from Resident Evil 2 anymore. Leon is older, tougher, and absolutely built like a tank. The game alternates between 2 playstyles. Grace's segments are played in first person. Leon's segments are played in third person. However, personally, I played everything in third person because I don't like first person, and now you can choose those options within the game settings. This creates a really interesting balance between survival horror and action gameplay. Grace's sections are slower and far more tense. Leon's sections lean more towards combat-heavy encounters. You can change the camera perspective in the settings, but it's honestly best to play the game the way it was designed. The shifting viewpoints help reinforce the different tones of each character's story. I prefer it in third person. That's me. I can't play in first person because of motion sickness. I don't bother. One thing the game does extremely well is weaving the 2 storylines together. Grace and Leon are often working through different parts of the same situation. Eventually, their paths cross, including a memorable moment at the care centre where both characters are dealing with completely different dangers at the same time. The constant switching between characters keeps the story moving forward and prevents the pacing from slowing down. While Leon's gameplay is more action-focused, Grace's sections are where the horror really shines. She's far less equipped than Leon, ammo is scarce, enemies feel threatening, well, definitely more threatening, oof, and the first person perspective makes every moment feel far more intense. Grace can eventually craft items like ammunition and healing supplies using scrap materials found throughout the environment. The game even allows crafting bullets using metal fragments and infected blood. Yes, it's ridiculous, but hey, this is Resident Evil logic. Characters. Grace's character is one of the highlights of the entire game. Her anxious personality really comes through thanks to excellent voice acting. You hear the fear in her voice during tense moments, and it adds a lot to the immersion. Leon, on the other hand, brings a completely different energy. He's calm, experienced, and occasionally drops some classic dad-style one-liners during combat. Switching between the two characters creates a refreshing balance throughout the story. If you're expecting pure survival horror like the early games, you might notice that Resident Evil Requiem leans more towards action horror. This shift actually started back with Resident Evil 4 and continues here. Grace's segments definitely bring the tension, with dark corridors, lurking enemies and limited resources, but later parts of the game shift more towards action-heavy encounters similar to Resident Evil 5. Oh yeah, at one part Leon picks up, I can't tell you what it is, but he picks up something across a swordy thing, and he can just grind the enemies to pieces. It's pretty cool. For some players, this tonal change might feel a little surprising, but it still fits within the modern evolution of the series. Thankfully, plenty of classic Resident Evil mechanics are still present. You'll find environmental puzzles, hidden collectibles, notes that expand the story, plenty of backtracking. These elements feel polished and refined, and the overall gameplay loop works extremely well. Visually, Resident Evil Requiem is stunning. On PC with max settings enabled, the game looks absolutely incredible. Even older GPUs like the Nvidia RTX 30 series cards can handle the game well at 1080p with high settings. Ray tracing and path tracing will impact performance significantly, but the visual improvements can be worth it depending on your hardware. One setting that makes a noticeable difference is the hair strand option, especially for Grace's character's model. Her hair looks dramatically more realistic with it enabled. The soundtrack perfectly complements the game's environment. Music builds tension when needed, but also knows when to step back and let silence take over. Those quiet moments often make the scares even more effective. The sound design team clearly put a huge amount of effort into making sure every creak, noise and monster encounter feels unsettled. Despite how strong the game is overall, there are a couple of issues. First, the field of view in Grace's first-person segment is quite narrow. Even with motion blur turned off, some players may experience motion sickness during long sessions. The second issue is the tonal shift later in the game. As the story progresses, the horror elements take a backseat to meet action-focused gameplay. It's not necessarily bad, but it does change the feel of the game. Final verdict? Oh yeah. Resident Evil Requiem is a fantastic addition to the franchise. It delivers a compelling story, excellent gameplay, incredible visuals, and strong performances from its characters. The shift toward action-packed fight sequences might not please everyone, but the game still manages to capture the spirit of what makes Resident Evil great. The main story takes around 12 hours to complete, with plenty of replay value for players aiming to unlock everything. And honestly, this could easily be one of the early contenders for... Oh, wait for it. Oh, Game of the Year. That's what Sahil thinks. Game of the year. He scores the game a 9 out of 10. The cons of the game, as you know, it's action focused. And of course the narrow field of view which can cause motion sickness. The pros, graphics, visual design, soundtrack, voice acting, and of course a strong mix of survival horror and action. I hope you liked this review of Resident Evil Requiem from Capcom. And I hope you will come back and watch more videos from us. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up. If you don't like this video, give us a thumbs down because no one's going to see it anyway. If you got any comments, please leave it in the comment section. And I will see you, well, I'll read to you in the next review. Thanks for watching.